here. He's Mr. Calen Legaspi, our CEO of Orange and Bronze Software Labs. He will give us a talk about real-world software engineering. Please.
Things, and at the same doesn't lock me up in a cubicle, expecting at least to find a company which has the best developers, which does the best things, and at the same time doesn't lock me up in a cubicle, expecting unreasonable things. Homesick na ako. Heard about ONB nung nagkaroon ng Mindanao Roadshow. CEO mismo yung na-meet namin, NCC coach din. So parang doon na, inspire ako sa kanila. So I decided to apply for this internship. It's like, ito ko summer class. Lecture. So, it's been fun so far.
There's no downtime. The students aren't learning when they will do other stuff that will simulate their learning.
So far, it's been quite relaxed, but at the same time, I've learned more in my stay here than my entire 3 years of college.
I learned a lot.
Good experience siya kasi nalaman namin yung uses ng coding side na.
That just to give you an idea of the training at ONB. So at Orange and Bronze Software Labs, we're about plus or minus 200 people now. I started the company about 8 years ago. We want to practice software engineering, software development, the highest level. So we try to get the best and the brightest and try to provide them with the best training and mentoring and the best learning environment. And I asked this question a while ago. How many semesters of Java do you guys? One semester of Java. All right. Okay. So. Hopefully, some of the stuff water. Okay. I guess all of you know the data type double. How about big decimal? You're never supposed to use double for financial calculations. think about it. How do you represent 0.5 in binary? You everything in all numbers, all values in a computer are stored as binary. Any fraction is just an approximation, it's not exact, diba? And when you do calculations, nagkaka-rounding errors, diba? So if you try to do that in financial applications, where importante na precise, yung bawat centimos dapat tinatrack, magkakaproblema ka sa calculation. Because when you try to store it, you use the IEEE standard of whatever, storing decimals as binary. It's never going to be precise. And you're going to have a lot of errors as you have calculation. In the real world, so my topic isn't real world software engineering. I had that, but I have those slides, but it takes an hour to talk about it. So I only have 15 minutes. So I'll just go through some random stuff, the stuff I usually try to take some time to teach new programmers that join our company. And some of the stuff in Java that you learn in school, there's a lot of that doesn't prepare you for real world Java programming. For example, big decimal. If you use double. If you use double, here's an example. Very simple exercise. If you start with 1 peso and you buy items, each item is when you buy the first item, it costs 10 centavos. The next item becomes 20 centavos. Nadadagdagan ng 10 centavos. How many items can you buy? It's easy. You can even add that in your head, di ba? You can buy 4 items. Tapos, ano yung sukli mo? Dapat wala. Sukli. But if you run this demo, mali yung nakukuha niya. That's because when you use double, you get rounding errors. It's not stored properly in your memory. It's just stored as binary. So what we use in the real world, and it's not quite straightforward to just use big decimal. Yeah, we can teach you how to properly use it. But we use what's called big decimal. So big decimal will store how many decimal places you want the precision to be. So okay, precise up to 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places. Natatandaan niya yun. So when it does its calculations, it remembers the precision that you want. Okay. There's some issues with performance. So when you have performance problems, there's another workaround, which we can teach you if you join the company. But in general, if precision is more important than performance, use big decimal. Again, I already have so many friends that made this error using double or float for financial calculations, and I don't know if it cost them their job, but it cost them a lot of late nights trying to figure out the bugs. So strings, I guess it's one of the most common data types, strings, diba? Iba yung handling ni Java. Back in the day when memory was very expensive, they had to do special things to manage memory. They created a workaround in Java called the string pool. So in Java, I don't know if you can see this. So there's a special place in memory called the string pool. So, kasi their rationale is, for example, you say string S1 equals select. Wag munang garbage collect itong object na to. I-store muna natin dito sa string pool. Kasi mahal yung instantiation of the object. And then when every time you instantiate, it costs a lot of CPU cycles. So, performance is a problem there. So they thought, sige, let's make this so that if we need the same string somewhere else, hindi pa burado yung object dito. Huhugutin na lang natin, tapos i-assign sa variable na yon. Nakita nyo, the string pool doesn't really look like that. It's just a whiteboard. But anyway, the point is, strings are not garbage collected right away, and it can cause memory problems if you do not understand how strings work. Furthermore, strings are immutable. So you cannot modify a string. You cannot really modify a string. You just create new strings when you think you're modifying them. So for example, tong string initialization, this is like 100 million loops. STR1, STR2, yung assignment niya is just using a literal. Whereas STR1, STR2 here is using new string. So when you use new string, masunurin yung JVM, okay? Masunurin yung compiler. O sige, gagawa ko ng bagong object. So instead of just getting the object here, it will say you say new strings, new string select. It will add that string to the string pool. Select, whatever. Select. It will add that string to the string pool, and it will not just fetch an object from the string pool. It will add it to the string pool. Tapos kung parati mong ginagawa yun, kunyari it's a function that gets called a lot, a method that gets called a lot, or it's in a large loop, maubusan kayo ng memory. And again, I have so many friends where this has happened. Okay. So I'll run the demo. So notice one is the first routine, I'm just assigning the literal directly. The next routine, I'm using new. Okay. Run as 15 minutes. Notice STR1 and STR2, when I check for equality, it returned true. So they are the same object. They are pointing to the same object. Hindi kayo nag-uubos ng memory. Okay? Kahit isang tan yan, they're all pointing to the same object if they're the same string. When I use new, STR1 equals STR2 false. So they are different objects. So I ran this 100 million times. It only took 17 milliseconds. Using the new operator, it took me 836 milliseconds. So same operation times 80 yung tama ba yun? Pero I don't know how to multiply anymore. Times 40 whatever. Calculator na tayo lahat. Anyway, so malaki yung implication nito. And we're not running out of memory yet. I've had friends na naubos yung memory, hindi nila alam kung bakit. Kasi pag nag-out of memory error ka, walang stack trace. Kasi wala ka ng memory, di ba? So, wala nang paghuhugutan si Java na there's no more memory for Java to tell you what went wrong. So it's hard to figure out, but when I looked at their code, ito yung mga nakita ko. String concatenation, like I said, strings are immutable. When you're modifying a string, you're not modifying a string, you're creating new strings. So itong string na to, sino-concatenate ko 1.5 million times, dinadagdag ko lang. When I just use string, this I'm just using string. The other, I'm using what's called string builder. So string builder, it's not a string, it just builds strings. So it just stores characters in an array. Tapos pag kailangan na siyang gawing string, i-output niya string when you call that the string method. Run as using the string builder, it only took 54 milliseconds. And then, di matapos. Someday matatapos. Sana nagkape muna ako. I could have shown the video during this time. Come on. How many cores is this laptop? So can't look at. So what's your name? Faculty? Okay. Calen. Marvin. You are Julius. Faculty also. And the host, what's your name?
Case.
Casey. Still not done. And ma'am? Ethel. Still not done. The type, name's Calen. I founded Orange and Brown Software Labs 8 years ago. My life has been very, very difficult since. I've been doing a lot of I've been doing these Java demos even before the company started. So this code is 10 years old. I just edited it a little bit. And it's still not finished. Anyway, I think you get the point. It's concatenating that XXX over and over. Ang nangyayari, you're not modifying one string, okay? In string builder, dinadagdag niya lang. Sa string, lahat ng ginagawa niya, pag every iteration, x, 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 that is a new string na nadadagdag dito sa string pool. It just stays in memory. Okay? So, not only does it take so long, you're creating new objects, and creating objects is an expensive operation in Java, one of the more expensive operations in Java. It could also cause you to run out of memory. Let's leave that for a while. Maybe someday it's going to be over. So we're not yet talking about the software engineering. I'm just talking about coding practices. This is just one part. The software engineering practices that we teach you in Orange and Bronze, like version control and agile software development and test-driven development. There's a lot of things that you can learn in ONT. Anyway, let me look for another demo. Collections. Okay. Are you familiar with the collections framework? List, array list. Array is the only okay. Okay. There are dozens and dozens of collections. Array is not the only data structure you can take advantage of in Java. But you have to know the right collection. For example, there are several kinds of lists. Two of the more common are, so a list is like an array, but it's growable. Okay. So the two more common are array list and linked list. So an array list is just an array, only it grows. A linked list, you guys know what linked list is in the data structure thing. So a linked list, every cell, instead of an array where you have the array, tapos the elements go here, you have, so then in an array you can seek directly to the bucket that's need. So kanyari, you want to go to I equals 2, eto na yun. Walang cost in the operation. A linked list, the elements are joined by references to each other. Okay, medyo mahabang explanation, but I'll show you the difference in performance. Sometimes the linked list is faster, sometimes the array list is faster. But the difference can be huge if you choose the wrong, data structure. So, adding to an array list, so almost more than times 3 this, adding to array list versus adding to a linked list, almost times 3 in performance. Getting from an array list very fast, from a linked list, almost 60 seconds. Removing from a linked list is very fast. Removing from an array list is kind of slow. Okay. The explanation is pretty long, but again, if you want to suffer through one of my lectures, I can give you a longer lecture and explain to you what it's a data structures lecture. Ano ba pa ba? And then more will be discussed by PJ, my office mate there, on Java best practices, di ba? So marami to, mahaba. How much time do I have? It's gone. Tapos na raw yun. So the part 2 will be PJ, the guy with wearing the same kind of shirt as I am. Like our Facebook page, and when you guys graduate or you want to take a summer internship, consider Orange and Bronze if you really want to learn how to be a great software engineer. All right, thanks guys.